Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called Hiring Ex-CIA Employees to Save Your Company. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. Also, remember to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. I'd also like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It's a great service that allows you to purchase live phone calls from your favorite celebrities. There are more than 100 celebrities to choose from. A 15-second call is $19.95 and a 30-second call is $29.95. So give it a shot. You can buy a call for yourself or as a gift for somebody you care about. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's get started. As everybody knows, there are countless small and large companies that are in serious trouble now because of the lockdowns and the health issues. There are also many companies that are still staying afloat, but their situation needs to improve if they want to remain solvent, if they want to remain competitive. We're hearing about a new trend which involves companies in distress pursuing new options and possible solutions for all the problems they're facing now, problems that have never been seen by corporate America ever before in American history. What some of them are doing is instead of hiring more MBAs or lawyers, they're going out and recruiting people who have worked for the CIA or the military special forces in very unique capacities. Most people think of the CIA as an intelligence agency, and they think of special forces as a military force. But now some employers are starting to view them in a different way. They're now looking at people who work in those agencies as individuals that can and will employ extraordinary effort, innovation, and tactics to get things accomplished. Let's take data, for example. A lot of companies are now turning to both the cloud and big data experts to help them collect and analyze their data. But the problem with that is that everyone is doing that, including all their competitors. What these companies need is more innovative and productive use of all the data they accumulate. When they interview vendors, contractors, and data experts, they tell them the same thing that every other vendor or data expert tells them. That may be okay if you want to achieve the same results as all your competitors, but if you want to gain a competitive advantage, then you have to explore new options. Employing people who have worked in the intelligence community or who have a military background will also do something else very beneficial for these companies. It forces them to adopt a more open and aggressive culture when it comes to risk-taking and the pursuit of alternative solutions for their problems. Let me give you some examples. One of the things that many companies have to deal with internally is fraud, theft, and IT security. The physical security of their buildings and operations is also a growing concern. Now, there are a lot of companies out there that are employing their industry's best practices, and guess what's happening? They're still getting ripped off. Their intellectual property is being stolen. Their buildings and their plants are still being compromised by criminals or employees with bad tendencies, and all of that is happening despite their efforts to stop it. So what some companies are doing is they are looking for ex-CIA employees with experience in deterring such efforts. The feeling is that simply getting the latest antivirus software or hiring more security guards is not enough to stop the growing threat corporations are experiencing. So they're pursuing job candidates who have demonstrable ability to create and implement solutions that will make their companies and their resources safer. The feeling is that if you've worked for an intelligence agency that has been able to take on or destroy a Russian or Chinese hacker group or product counterfeiting organization, then you should be able to offer options that most conventional corporate employees probably haven't tried or don't have experience with. The next thing that these companies are trying to implement is something called speed of solution. The priority there is to dramatically decrease the time it takes a company to implement a solution or launch a new product, or in many instances, simply get something done. If you know anything about the US military special forces, then you know these guys are famous for getting the impossible done quickly. They don't do PowerPoint presentations. They don't have a dozen meetings to figure out who's going to do what, and more importantly, who's going to get credit for it, or as is often the case, whose budget is going to be allocated to this problem, because everybody's trying to hang on to the resources in any way they can. They want credit for what somebody else has done, but they don't want their department's resources used. These guys, they don't spend time worrying about who they might accidentally offend by doing something. And they never make excuses for why something can't be done. What they do is they focus on using extraordinary solutions to get something done quickly. Another problem now is the huge percentage of threats coming in from offshore entities, countries, or organizations. And they are coming in such huge numbers that conventional approaches to deterring them simply don't work anymore. It's not just foreign hackers attacking your servers 100,000 times an hour in an effort to break in. It's not just competitors trying to bribe some of your most valuable personnel to feed them intellectual property. It's much worse than that. One of the things that companies are really being attacked with now is a reputational or brand assault. Let's say you're producing cars and for some strange reason, your cars start to catch fire out on the streets. In the past, you would simply assume that it was a manufacturing or design defect that was causing these fires, but you can't make that assumption anymore. Now, there's always the possibility of something called reputational assassination. This is where a competing company or country wants to steal your market share, so they cleverly sabotage your product or service in a way that is difficult to detect and trace back to them. In doing so, they cause the public to suddenly start thinking that your cars aren't safe and aren't a good deal anymore. So these people, these customers, they start buying your competitors' products. And invariably, they'll end up buying some of the products of the company that probably had something to do with setting your cars on fire. Another thing that is becoming more and more common is something called a fake review wave. This is where a competitor will hire a foreign company to start posting thousands of negative product reviews about the things your company sells. Now, you would think this wouldn't have much of an effect on a company, but it can be very damaging to have someone wage a fake review campaign against you over time. The next thing that is really important in problem solving is the ability to employ high-level networking with disgruntled but highly effective competitor executives. Remember, getting an executive from a competitor to leave their company and join your organization is very difficult. One of the ways to make that possible is timing. Timing is everything, because you want to approach these executives when they are really unhappy or disillusioned with their current jobs. That's when they will be most receptive to the idea of jumping ship and coming over to you. Right now, there are professional headhunters who will lobby an executive year after year until they finally catch them in a moment of weakness or dissatisfaction with their employer. That's one way to do it. But a far more efficient and productive way is to get the interest of a competing executive by creating a circumstance that will make them really unhappy with their current employer and more likely to join your firm. Believe it or not, there are individuals in the intelligence community who are experts in creating circumstances that will cause people to become receptive to your offer. And they can do it in a way that is completely legal and expedient. What this shows us is that companies are getting more and more aggressive in their efforts to find solutions to extraordinary problems they're facing today. I want to thank you for watching and tell you that we're going to have more great celebrity interviews and more breaking news stories coming up in the near future. So we want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel and click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new story. Thank you for watching.